So can you tell us a little bit about your relationship with the Lafayette Mayor Rzorsky? I know that you guys come from two different political parties, but you have managed to have such a great relationship. What advice would you give the next future president when it comes to crossing party lines?
Well, first off, Tony and I do go way back. I tell everybody that he is my longest relationship outside of my wife and my daughter. So truly, when it comes to governing, the first thing you need to recognize that you are a public servant. If you affiliate too closely with a party, affiliate too closely with some sort of demagogic philosophy, it really is going to sort of take away from the reason why you were elected. And the one thing about being a mayor is that you deal with citizens and citizens' issues every day. And how do you pave a road like a Republican or a Democrat? How do you make sure that your citizens are safe like a Republican or a Democrat? If you truly are out there listening, and if you're truly paying attention to the folks that put you in this office, it's pretty easy. It's almost like a no-brainer. You're given the guidance that you need, and the decisions basically come down to making sure that you're hiring the right people, that they understand your management philosophy, and that they are there to serve as well.
And traffic has been so crazy on campus already, and the State Street project hasn't even begun yet. When can students really get ready for the renovations about to take place, and what can they expect?
Well, 2017 is going to be the year when they're going to start seeing a lot of streets basically turn into dirt and gravel. This project, first off, the delivery method of this project is the first of its kind, at least to our awareness in the States. There's never been a partnership between local government, a university, and the state like there is with the State Street project. And we're talking about $120 million of road work being in a very small geographic footprint. So this is incredible. It's not just a game changer, it's a life changer. The city of West Lafayette and Purdue University will not be the same when this project's over. This year we've already done a lot of work in utility relocation. And 17 is when we start in earnest making roads basically to what they're going to be when this project is completed. So for the student population, please pay attention to the signs. Please visit the website so you can then find out specifically what it is about this project that you need to know. Parking is going to be different. Paths of travel are going to be different. Basically, the entire street guide map and everything about getting from point A to point B is going to be different. But the whole focus of this project is to make things simpler, easier to navigate, and more intuitive and safer, obviously.
And although you aren't running for re-election this term, you still have 2 years left of your term. What are some things you want to accomplish in your next 2 years, and what are your future political plans?
Well, I'd like to take this opportunity to announce my candidacy for president. No, I am absolutely, I can't even figure out how to shave, much less. No, the fact of the matter is that State Street is really going to be a relatively comprehensive project for the city of West Lafayette. But also we are working very closely with the city of Lafayette on our riverfront project.
I think we have a little visitor here. I think it might be your friend.
He used to do that to me all the time when we were police officers. He would sneak up behind me. Hi, Tony.
Hey, how you doing, Mayor?
We were just chatting about what his future plans are for the next 2 years. Even though he's not running for a re-election this year, obviously he has 2 years left of your term. What are your future plans for the next 2 years?
Well, we're going to keep going, we have been when we look at economic development, how we create good paying jobs in our community. We look at quality of life initiatives like the development of the riverfront. Obviously, we want to finish Sagamore Parkway and several other large infrastructure projects. And then we also, we're a CSO community, and so we're working very hard to clean up the water quality in the Wabash River. So right after the first year, we'll have about $50 million sewer projects started throughout the city of Lafayette to go along with some of those others that we've already done. And so strong commitment to parks, recreation, outdoor opportunities, quality of life initiatives. And as I heard John say as I was sneaking up on him, continue to collaborate with West Lafayette and Tippecanoe County. How do we pool our resources so we're using our tax dollars wisely? How do we connect the communities that give people more opportunity and empower our citizens to be successful and want to live and work here?
And I asked him earlier, you two are best buds, but both come from 2 different political parties. What advice would you give the future president when it comes to crossing party lines?
Well, I think what happens sometimes, whether it's either party, they think when they win that they get this huge mandate, right? And so they way overreach, when the reality is if you really talk to individual people, they probably like some ideas from this candidate, some ideas from this candidate, and nobody really has that mandate. So what I would tell them is when you get in there, don't think you have a mandate, even if you win by a lot, because a lot of people don't vote too, right? And those people still matter. And so I would encourage the new president to look at all the possibilities within both parties, look at all those ideas as just in a practical approach, and just do what's right for the citizens.
All right, and you have been in the news lately for your lack of shaving. I hate to call you out on that, but you have a great reason for it. Can you tell us a little about why you haven't been shaving? No Shave November, but there's more to it.
Sure. No Shave November is all about prostate cancer awareness and prevention. And there is a website. Just Google Movember, and you can find the website where you can contribute to my campaign, my website. And it's all about, again, raising funds. It's a fundraising opportunity, and it's a rather graphic fundraising opportunity to bring attention and awareness to prostate cancer awareness and prevention.
So do you guys have any predictions for the outcome of tonight?
Yeah.
None you would like to share?
I think we're going to have a new president. I think we're going to have a new governor. I'm an elected guy. I'm a politician. No, I think just by reading some of the exit polls, I think that Hillary's got a pretty good chance to become our new president.
Okay. Do you have any ideas of what's going to happen tonight?
Well, as John said, I mean, it really is too early to tell. It's been a hard-fought campaign, but really, as we talked earlier, what I'm hoping is whoever wins these elections really does take a step back and said, okay, what do we need to do? What's best for our country and our state? And how do we take the ideas of both parties and people that are not affiliated in parties anymore, right? There's a lot of independents. And how do we really work to make our country better? We're at a critical junction in our country where we need to really catapult ourselves forward in a lot of ways with infrastructure, how we look at our educational system, how we look at the environment. And I hope those things can really be discussed in a way that we can continue to make really significant progress.
And when it comes to early voting, it's been all over the news about how the lines have been so long. What was early voting like in Lafayette and West Lafayette?
Oh, it was exactly like everywhere else in the country. There were, at least, our daughter went to vote this morning at 7:30, and there was a 45-minute wait.
Oh my goodness.
And that's the date of election. So there's some are, I don't know, at least in West Lafayette, some are as long as 2 hours.
I know when my IT director got to City Hall this morning, said at 6:15 there was already a line out the door and down the sidewalk. You know, early voting with Paylesses went very well. You know, I'd like to see us to continue to expand early voting here in the county, look at even more opportunities. We ought to be doing everything we can to make it as easy to vote for people as possible and to get as many people out to vote as we can. So I hope we continue to look at early voting opportunities and even expand those in the future.
And since you're the West Lafayette mayor, what is it like when it comes to student voting, do you believe?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's transitioned. I mean, you look at every generation, there's either a great deal of enthusiasm about bringing the electorate to the students, or there's not. And I think right now we're at that transitional period where our student population, and generally speaking, the youth between the ages of 18 and 25, are the ones that are being targeted for almost all of the political ads. They're the ones that actually are bringing the ideas to the country, because the country is yours. I mean, guys like Tony and I, we're on the other side of that, you know? But the fact of the matter is that it's your country. You're the ones that are going to be making the decisions, and you're the ones that really should drive your future. So if you don't do it by showing up and voting and getting involved, there's not much you can do.
And when it comes to social media in this election, it has been so crazy, especially, you know, between the candidates with the tweeting. How do you believe that social media plays an impact, especially when it comes to the youth and maybe even the older generation?
Well, I think in the last two elections, President Obama probably demonstrated that better than anybody else ever on how to use social media to turn out an electorate, how to turn out different categories of voters. And I think as you'll continue to see that grow even into the future. As John said, you know, the country is changing. It's changing demographics. It's changing from ethnic. And there's going to be a lot of things and a lot of different constituency groups that people are going to have to try to reach and motivate to get to the polls. And as people's lives get busier and busier and more activity, that social media, that quick look sometimes are going to be exactly what they're looking for. So I think it will only continue to grow. I think the last two Obama campaigns really catapulted that to the forefront.
Thank you guys for joining us today. They've been so great. We are joined by Purdue President Mitch Daniels. Daniels was elected governor of Indiana in 2004 and his first bid to any elected office. A couple weeks ago, I met with Rosalie Clausen and political science student Allegra Aguirre just to see what makes the political science department at Purdue so special. Take a look. Thank you so much for joining us here today. You have worked with the political science department for over 20 years, so politics have changed in that time, and how have they changed? How have you seen them change? And because of this, how has your curriculum had to change?
I think one of the key issues is that over the last 20 years, Americans have become much more cynical about politics, and so that has really had an effect on the way in which students enroll for our courses. So it used to be we would have many more students enroll for American politics courses, and over time those enrollments have gone down, but we've seen an increase in enrollments in international politics. And so while students are more cynical about what's happening here at home, they're really quite interested in what's happening around the world. And so that's a growth area for us. And next semester, for example, Aaron Hoffman's teaching a class on terrorism, and I suspect that will draw a lot of students. And then Keith Shimko is teaching a class on modern weapons, and that is always a very popular class. And so that will draw a lot of students. So you see students attracted to these classes on international politics.
And speaking of international politics, there's a course going to be taught where the students are actually going to the U.S. and Mexico border. Can you tell me a little bit about that and what they're going to see there and research?
Yeah. So Professor Natasha Duncan is going to take a group of students to the border. She's a clinical associate professor in political science and in the honors college. And so this is an honors class. And they'll be learning about issues about immigration and migration. As you know, Trump has talked a lot about building a wall during this campaign. And so they'll be going to the Mexican border over spring break and seeing firsthand the conditions there and talking about what's happening politically, drawing on the political science research, and then seeing it in practice what's happening. So it's going to be a great class. So if you're interested in that, please look up Professor Natasha Duncan, and the class is called Borders.
So you said it's the enrollment for the classes have struggled a little bit. How does the political science department believe that they can improve this in the future going forward?
Yeah, so it is interesting that in political science our enrollments have declined some over the past 5 years, and it's really something we think a lot about because we think it is so central that students are good citizens and that they have the kind of background in political science and politics. Not that we expect every student to be a political science major, but we want a lot of students to make sure they have that background so that they can be good citizens as they graduate from Purdue. So we've talked a lot about how to make sure that we're providing the kinds of experiential opportunities for students so that they can come and not only learn what's happening in the classroom, but also take it and then go out and apply it. And we just had a group of students come back from Bogota, Colombia. They were there participating in the Model UN program, Model UN conference in Bogota. And so I haven't even had a chance to talk to them yet. They just came back today. Yeah, so I don't know if they're here right now, but I'm looking forward to talking to them and finding out how they went, how they did at the conference. And I know that at least a couple of them won awards. So I'm looking forward to hearing the details on that.
Thank you so much for joining me. We're going to toss it back over to the hot seat to see the updates in the polls. Hot seat.